It looks like we're back. Lost my Brian. I want to reel in my co-caster there. Very loud. Okay.
Very low. Oh, our audio is very low?
No, very loud.
Oh.
Is this better or worse? I don't think we changed anything.
Bryce, turn down your headset. Solve the problem. Easy. Um. So here we've got Chris Neal on Avalanche. He just took it down against Kelly on Soiree. He's going to go up against Azul playing the sort of ninja Cat 4 deck. Yeah. What do we think about this matchup? Do we have a favorite, or do we have any kind of thoughts on cards that players want to see in the matchup?
Well, I heard Azul is a color name, so obviously I'm rooting for Azul. No,
But
I think Chris Neal, like the Avalanche. So Chris Neal's on Avalanche, and their best cards are, obviously Barrett and the 6 CP Cloud.
Mhm.
Like outside of that, the rest of the deck is like kind of whatever, right? Because like you need to have like those are your best cards.
Yep.
Azul's running 3 Finas, which is a good counter to 6 CP Cloud, and most of his backups don't cost 4 or more. So like Wedge is kind of not a dead card, but way less effective than against other matchups.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, for me, when I look at these lists or these decks, I think both players want to kind of honestly stick to their game plan.
Right.
I mean, Chris, I think he wants to go fast. I don't think that he wants to take this match slow, because if he takes the match any kind of slow pace, it ends up playing in Azul's favor, because he gets those Cat 4 backups down. He's not going to be able to break them with a wedge. Azul's Theodore becomes online. He can start doing things like break the Barretts, break the backups that Chris would play. He'll be able to do things like utilize Cecil to dull the Avalanche operatives. So I think if it gets to late game, it starts to fall into Azul's favor. We really want to see if Chris wants to have a chance. He needs to come out the gate swinging, I think, and just go with a fast and strong start.
I agree.
Azul probably wants to do as much as he can to push to late game. Cards like that 4 CP Summon Alexander, breaking the Barrett could be very, very important in those opening hands.
And he also has a couple Typhons to stop early aggression.
Yep. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting because both players are reviewing each other's deck list. So maybe they're like thinking about it, right now.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny. How many cards do we think Chris is gonna have to ask to look up before the game starts? Like I mean, shoot, I probably had to look up at least 3 or 4 off of Azul's list.
Every single one of Ninja was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what this card does.
For sure. Do we want to over under in the chat?
Yeah, I think Theodore is like insane.
Yeah, I think Theodore is a very good card in the match.
And Cecil is like the can't lose late. I don't want to say you can't lose, but it's insane late game with like AK and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is Cecil is just gonna be really strong. If you get a few of those cards on board, during Chris's turns, you're just gonna dull those Avalanche operatives, and once it passes back to you, you're gonna use the Hooded Man triggers and the Theodore triggers to start, blowing Chris's forwards up.
Right.
So
and Azul is also running Bismarck in this deck, which is like extra value with Typhon.
Mhm.
You can also tap, like, even though Hooded Man, Theodore are like pretty small themselves, they're only like 8K and 7K. You can still ping with the Bismarck, reactivate, ping again. So you have like still extra reactivations to kill stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean Theodore Hooded Man paired with
look, they're exchanging cards. They're like, what does Carbuncle do? Suganawa do?
Yeah. So, but I mean, I like that. I mean, that's good. A lot of times I know as a player, I just kind of assume. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's that card. I don't think I know what it does. While we're looking at a player's deck, I think a really, it's good to understand and know those cards going into the matchup. Understand if it is a priority. Understand if it is something that you need to be aware of and play around before it hits the board.
Thank you. We have the deck list now. So we haven't actually seen Chris Neal play at all this event. Do you have anything you would like to point out about the deck list?
I mean, so one of the things that we talked about is Chris is on an all Earth backup list. So Avalanche is one of those decks where a lot of people have debated whether or not we play Elfie. The benefit in Chris being able to play an all Earth backup list is that he plays this card, Carbuncle, which is going to pump his forwards by 2K, getting all of his 7K operatives out of range of a card like Cecil, being able to shoot his forwards for 2K. So could be a card that to keep an eye out for in this matchup.
Okay. I'm also noticing that all the backups are like cost 4 or more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of dangerous when you're playing against Theodore.
Yeah, most of them do have a higher cost, right? So I think the only one that really Theodore can't break is like Iridia. But yeah, he's got things like the Marlene, the Kolka, the Vigali. So yeah, a lot of higher cost backups that Theodore can punish. I think it's kind of concerning, right? If you're Azul, do you save the Theodore for the Barrett, or do you say, nah, man, I'm killing that backup? You're not paying 1 CP for your operatives. You gotta pay 2. Discard a card, please.
I think you have to kill Barrett.
Yeah.
I think it's Barrett. Like, even though Chris is running 3 Kusits, Barrett's just one of the strongest cards in the deck, right?
Yeah,
Price
absolutely.
that makes it work.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's interesting is there's only 2 starter clubs. Or is this the old starter club? That's the Cloud Pod?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
that is Opus 11, 2 CP Cloud. That's the Pod Cloud.
Okay. So there's still 3 of the new Cloud.
Yep.
Newer Cloud.
Yeah. One thing that's also interesting is he is doing 2 of the Fire Cloud. I think if I'm looking through this list very quickly before I say something incorrect, yeah. A card that he chose not to run. We talked about it, I think, going into the event. He chose not to play the sort of anime art style Cloud, the 4 CP Earth Legend Cloud. Yeah. I know he tested it a lot of as a one of, but it looks like he didn't opt to slide it into the list. I think that would also be a pretty interesting card in this matchup because Cecil, once they develop the board, they really wouldn't be able to kill it, right? He can just keep attacking him, forcing his forwards to block. I guess Azul could dole them, but
Right. And I think the last thing I want to point out before we get into the match is there's no Mist Dragons, as far as I can see.
no, we do have 3 Amaterasus, but no Mist Dragons on Chris's list. That is correct. Yeah.
Mist Dragon. All right, so going over the game, Azul just played a backup. Turn 1, Chris Neal also played a backup into Tyro. Turn 2. So let's see what Azul has for us here.
So he's searching out a Jesse. That tells me that again, Chris wants to go fast, right? I'm assuming I'm gonna take a good guess that next turn we're gonna see some
Barrett,
Barrett,
Avalanche.
Barrett plus operative,
Right.
go fast.
And the fact that we kind of didn't search out Barrett shows that we already have one, right?
Yeah, well, he didn't grab it off the Tyro. Do we know he grabbed off of the
Vigali. Yeah, Vigali probably got it.
Yeah.
So Vigali normally gets Tifa or Barrett. I think for the mono Earth decks, it's probably better to grab the Barrett.
Yep.
So we play Mana here. All right.
Mana gonna go ahead and fetch our Edge. Yep.
I think he has a Brynhilder in his hand, which
Yeah.
is very good.
Brynhilder is a card that's funny too. That it's a card that's I think come in and out of the Avalanche deck. I know Chris opted to play 3 Brynhilder just because he wanted extra fire cards in the deck, being that he's on an all Earth backup line. So he wanted some extra fire cards in the deck to be able to discard. But randomly, these Brynhilders have come up. Like in the first round of Top Cut, he played against Pat on Sophie deck.
Yeah.
Brynhilder very good against Sophie. Again, Brynhilder pretty good against Edge.
Right.
Some of these finer details, like we said, right? It comes down to some pretty solid meta calls from some of the players over the weekend. Brynhilder obviously being a card that some people toggle in and out of the deck, and it ended up paying off this weekend for Chris.
Yeah. Also, the deck choices, like, I don't think anyone expected. Most people probably did not expect to see Mono win in top 4, Bart's Boko in top 4. I think people were expecting Sorays, Twins, aggressive decks in general, but like not this kind of like ninjas, I haven't seen ninjas in top 4, Bart's Boko, so
yeah.
So let's see. Chris Neal's going.
Azul kind of curving out here, but going Ninja, Mayana. Those ninjas basically just going to represent, one CP for the rest of the game, I think, for the most part.
I think he recognized or realized that edge puts him in danger with Brynhilder, so he doesn't want to play out the edge to get a free counter, even though
Correct.
it can each counter does 3k. So we're gonna play conservatively.
So he's gonna go ahead and throw out a Cloud Pod. We know he searched an Avalanche Operative earlier. Chris has done this quite a bit. Actually, I've seen him play the deck. A lot of times he just throws out a Cloud Pod because it's an annoying forward to answer. A lot of times requires a few resources. And if you don't answer it, it means that next turn he's gonna pop off and he's gonna grab whatever is best for him in that given situation. Probably a big seer.
Right.
Knowing he has the Brynhilder, it kind of forces Azul's hand too. So he can respond to this trigger with that Brynhilder if he still has the CP to pay for it in hand, saving his Cloud Pod effectively, putting Azul a little bit on the back foot.
I think if we have any other fire card besides like Barrett, we can probably pitch it.
I agree.
But if it's Barrett's our last fire card in our hand, we need to keep that card. The real question is, how good is Amaterasu versus Azul's deck? What do you think?
I think it's pretty decent. I mean, we saw, I think, last game, Xavier tried to use it against the Edge.
All right, so interestingly here, we Brynhilder right now. But that means when we Brynhilder and kill the Edge, we haven't done the searching yet off the Yagiri trigger. We can just get back another Edge.
Yeah. So although that is true, I don't know that Azul has enough cards in hand to be able to get the Edge up to the counters he needs again to kill the Cloud Pod, which means Chris is going to have a free turn to be able to do whatever he wants, right? And that's kind of what Avalanche needs.
Right. I need to look up Yagiri. Does Yagiri have summoning sickness to use your ability to break it forward?
I don't think so. I believe it's just discard 2 job or card name ninjas cold.
Right. So maybe there's a chance we wanted to get a bad ninja. So maybe I probably would not get Edge if I'm planning on discarding it.
Yeah.
Because it's a cat forward.
Yeah. And it's kind of a card that offers a solid amount of removal in the matchup, right?
Right. Yeah, so Yagiri has no summoning sickness. So we can't really run out a Barrett here.
So Cloud, I mean, he's going to go for it, I think.
Discard 2 is still very good, though.
Yep. It's basically a Sephiroth, right?
Almost. Right. Favorite comparison to any discard is Sephiroth.
Speaking of Sephiroth, making a comeback with that spicy Ice Lightning Legend, right?
True.
Revealed.
We'll be playing it in my Ice Earth deck. Okay.
So grabbing, it looks like, yeah, the bigs off of the Cloud Pod. Now he can just go if he'd like. Yeah.
I probably would not play Barrett here if I had Jesse and Wedge. Force him to answer.
Well, he does have the Jesse, right? We know that because he searched it off the Tyra, I believe, earlier. Looks like he's gonna go ahead and tap to
or Cloud.
I think he's debating over what he wants to do. Oh, he's gonna go ahead and Brynhilder the Yagiri.
That's really good.
Yeah. It's interesting. You think he's Brynhildering the Yagiri because he wants to play the Barrett? Because we know he has the Edge in hand, choosing to Brynhilder the Yagiri as opposed to Brynhildering the Edge that we know is Azul Search. What are your thoughts there?
I think that's fine because, like, if we have Barrett plus 2 or 3 other forwards, and since the Avalanche members get back cards, what is Azul gonna like? He can have his Edge. He still has to build up counters for them.
Yep.
Probably like, and especially because Azul doesn't have any Cat 4 backups, the chances of getting like Theodored here are slightly lower.
Right. Oh well, he just has the Terra, so he's just gonna get back to Brynhilder.
Yeah. So I think Chris Neal is actually kind of playing this a little bit slower, like more of a control style.
Very interesting. Yeah. Who would have thought Avalanche playing control? Completely different from what we expected, right? Going into it. Very interesting.
And we'll see how well this works out for him and whether or not he does the same thing game 2.
Yeah.
So right now, if I'm Azul, I'm like, okay, you know what? Theodore on this tower would be insane. Like,
He's got to get out. So what he'd have to do, play Edge and tap his 2 ninjas to play, discard a card to play Sayador.
I think no matter what, Azul wants to get the 4 win backups here to threaten the Fina.
Mm-hmm.
I think playing Edge out here is just expecting to get Terra because we know we got the Elder back.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we can do that.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. I think there is also a world where he just says, okay, and I just curve out, continue, Typhon on the Avalanche Operative is not bad either, right? Because it presents an 8K body out of range of that Brynhilder, because Brynhilder plus Terra only deals 7K. On top of that, it's gonna slow Chris down because we know he has a Jesse in hand, but now he doesn't have another Avalanche Operative for the party attack with.
Yeah, so I assume Azul did not have a backup because he just played Typhoon in the past with 5 in hand, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I hate when my opponents do this. If they start laying out their hands like this, they're like doing insane mental math on how they can kill me in 1 turn.
Yeah, it definitely does. When an Avalanche player starts lining up their cards, it starts to instill the fear of God into me for sure. I'm like, okay, looking back at my hand, how am I not dead?
Same with Mono Win, they're just like, well,
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna die here.
As soon as I see a Mono Win player start lining up their cards, I start picking up my forwards.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like we're trying to go in here. Like, play Barrett. We have 2 Earth CP, so let's just play 2 operatives if we have any. If we have 2. We
Yep.
for sure have 1. We don't know if what's in Chris Neal's break zone because he could bring 1 back. So I think Azul really wants an Alexander here. We want to stop the haste.
I agree. Okay, so we've got, I think that's a Wedge and the Jesse. So
going to attack, huh?
Yep. Able to
Wedge.
get off the triggers.
Wait, Wedge is pretty lucky because it's like doesn't generate any value because Azul doesn't have a backup cost 4 more or a character cost 4 more.
Correct.
It's important to note that although Wedge usually kills backups, he can kill dull forwards as well.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing here too is he doesn't have a bigs out, right? So he could just block with the Typhon and kill one of the Avalanche operatives.
Oh. So I think the reason why we chose not to block here is because Barrett can just pick up the one you kill.
Yeah. I think it depends, right? And what you have.
Right.
But
this is looking very scary for Azul right now. I kind of thought for sure he had an Alexander because he had 5 cards in hand and did nothing. Okay, so play Edge.
So step 1, play Edge. I mean, Yugiri. Okay. He's gonna go ahead and.
So let's see.
Oh, I wonder if he tapped incorrectly. Okay. Do you think you should have left the Mayana open? Like your ninjas aren't really doing anything. Presenting is Mayana the right category? Is she Cat 4?
No, she's not Cat 4. She's like FF Legend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And something non.
I think it's yeah. She's there because she's got an EX and she grabs our edge.
Grabs ninjas.
Yeah.
Okay. So getting this fire card basically always means I'm getting this for CP.
Yeah.
Generally.
Well, Edge allows you to play it for 3, right? So you could just tap 1, play it.
How much damage does it do?
It deals damage based on I think the number of ninjas in play, which he would have enough to be able to kill that Barrett.
Right. But is it 5 or it costs 3?
What? That ninja costs 4, but it's cost 3.
Gecko.
Yeah. It's a cost 4, I believe, but it becomes a cost 3 because of right.
Okay, so this is a new one.
So it deals 2,000 damage for each ninja or card name ninja you control. So that would be the 5th. So it would deal potentially 10,000 damage somewhere.
And
right?
gets a ninja.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Yeah, but Chris does, I think, still have that Brynhilder, maybe. So he can.
throwing away Cloud.
So if he kills that edge. Now the ninja will not be able to kill the Barret. The edge won't gain all of the shuriken counters. So I think it's fine because he still has a Jesse, right? That can fetch another Cloud next turn, assuming his board survives. And Azul threw a lot of resources into that line.
It's just still 10k because he has main as a ninja. I wonder if Chris Neal thought that potentially killing Edge would prevent Barret from dying.
Oh, maybe.
No. Oh, this is a really good. Oh, because I think Chris knew that he obviously knew he had Tifa in the bin.
Mhm.
So Tifa getting Cloud, and then party attacking with Jesse plus Wedge will let him replay the 6 CP Cloud, which will also get back to Barret.
Yeah, so he's basically going full circle here, and he knows that. So answering Eureka, this is game 1, sorry. But yeah. Sorry.
Japanese.
Isn't
That's Tawa.
Oh, answering Tawa, sorry.
Right. So I think Azul has no choice but to just let this happen. I feel very bad. I feel very scared if I'm the ninja. Like, I mean, to get a lot of value played against me.
Yeah, that's playing Tifa, grabbing Cloud, cheating Cloud into play, recurring our Barret. It's a ton of value.
The plus side, I think mono win game is still going versus Bartzboka. We haven't seen anyone walk outside the door yet.
That's true, yeah. Last time Alex wandered out fairly quickly, so maybe Matt's putting up a little bit more of a show. We'll see. But
he did tell me he had a game plan though for that matchup. Said he was gonna mulligan for Bismarck and a 2-drop to stop the Boko party attack tournament.
It's not bad. Yeah, it does the thing, right? I mean,
yeah. So what did we just do here? Oh, we discarded 2 ninjas to kill Jesse.
Okay. Yaguri, busing card. I think we haven't seen a ton of that card yet. But I mean, I think Sasha was playing it in his Earth Lightning deck. Azul making it, showing it here.
Is he X-verse someone?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and also like discarding 2 cards to answer any forward, right? Is it
4 or less?
4 or less? I still think that's pretty good. I mean, Alexander is basically like discarding 3 cards, right?
Right.
Or it's a total of 6 CP, whereas that's a total of 4 CP.
Because you have the 4.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Loki won a game.
All right, so for Matthew Okimoto and Andrew Pringle, it sounds like they're going to game 3 now. So they're both at 1-1. Interesting.
That's a tough matchup for Mom.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, after he took it down in top 16, he had to go up against Alex, and then now going up against Matt, he had a pretty well lined up bracket for him. So I mean,
yeah.
But we'll see what if he's able to take down Matthew Okimoto, America's sweetheart. Meanwhile, though, looking back here, Azul kind of making sure he understands the wedge.
He has a Theodore, man. But he can't really play because he only has one other cat forward.
Yeah, being the
gecko.
Yeah.
So let's see. What do we do? Is that his light Cecil on his team? He's playing something.
Yeah. I think you are right, though. I think that is a light Cecil. Or it might be the ninja backup. Yeah.
So this at least threatens a Fina action ability. What this also does give info to Chris Neal is maybe Yugiri can't use the action ability now. We have 3 cards in hand, 2 cards in hand.
Yeah, very
both need to be ninjas.
Yeah. Pretty low resources, but yeah. Fina being really good, right? Like we know Chris searched out that 6 CP Cloud and discarding 1 card to say your 6 CP now does nothing. Pretty strong, right? So
the best thing about it is like if you never kill Cloud, they can't do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just leave them alone.
Chris kind of like thinking about what he's got here. It looked like he almost wanted to Kusith to grab something back, but he, it's an interesting position to be in.
And I'm sure this is not a matchup he's tested or very often, at least.
I mean, guessing based on the number of cards he's picked up and asked to
Yeah.
read, I'm gonna take a safe guess.
Meanwhile, Azul probably is like, yeah, I've played against Avalanche. This is a pretty common deck.
Yeah, I mean, I think Azul, being from Central Cali, and I know a few of the players up there played Avalanche and played in some of the events that they have over at Ender's Game. So I'm sure he's played against it before, run into it in the past. I mean, so Chris, really taking some time because I mean, again, this is kind of one of those pivotal points in the game where you can really turn the corner as the Avalanche player and kind of almost just win it. Let's see if Azul has that Fina.
Target? Ooh. I feel like if he had it, he would have just like, hey, you don't need to target anything. It's gonna cancel.
Nope, he did not
Did
have
not
it.
have it. So we chose to do 10k plus bring back Barrett. I'm pretty worried if I'm Azul because the weakness of his deck is he has no board clear, right? You can whittle down things over time.
Yep.
There's no Shantoto, there's no Shadow Lord, no Titan.
Yeah, if a deck goes wide against me, it's definitely problematic. And Chris knowing that, I mean, and his boards really don't generate much value on the board. So he's kind of attacking, one by one here.
Because Tifa trigger pumps 1k.
Yep.
Wedge becomes an 8k, so they trade. But yeah, as you pointed out, like Chris Neal's turn could have been much better if he had like Jesse or Biggs in them. But since he only had Wedge, this is like it's kind of okay to be as well. You're like, I'm not dead yet.
Yeah, the effects really that Chris had on the board, he didn't really have like the stereotypical Avalanche where I'm gonna party attack and gain 20 stacks of effects and value from all my party attack triggers.
Right.
So I think Azul was just kind of okay with letting Chris do whatever he wanted that turn almost.
Okay. The important cards that we've seen disappear from Azul's deck is both Typhons are gone. And we've seen 2 edges here as well.
Okay, yeah. So Azul, he did have that light Cecil. Gonna go ahead and slam it down.
Playing Seedling.
Yeah.
So I think Gecko's Cat 4. Most people probably don't know that. I didn't know that. Okay, so Theodore lets us here tap 3 untapped Cat 4 characters. We're going to use this to break Barrett here. And now we can also use Cecil's action ability, Dole 2, active characters to Dole forward.
Yep. So what that will do is basically it'll slow down the bleeding in order to help Azul push to the late game, right? We talked about that earlier. That's really where Azul needs to get to is this late game board state, because that's where his deck will really shine. And breaking that Barrett is going to slow down Chris a lot as well.
Right. Looks like we're using Barrett's effect. So we're going to trade a card from our hand. And then we move to end step or combat, one of the phases, and we get to untap all our Cat 4 forwards. Yeah, Hooded Man is like the opposite. Once at the beginning of combat, and I think Hooded Man is at the end of the turn.
Yeah, so Theodore is at the beginning of attack, and Hooded Man is the end. Correct.
You got a lot of untapped forwards to during that.
Yeah, so
do we know how many let's see how many Cecils are in Azul's deck.
2
Cecils. That card has looked very strong every time he's played it.
Turns out when you play a lot of Cat 4 cards, the Cat 4 card is turns out to be kind of strong with those Cat 4 cards.
So let's see.
Imagine that.
Chris Neal, I think we saw on camera, but he actually already had the last Barrett. I don't know if this is the last Barrett or the second Barrett already in his hand. So he already had a Barrett in his hand.
Yeah, I think it was that second Barrett because I think the last one he clouded back, correct?
Okay, so give it Jesse. This is gonna search a cloud probably. Definitely not playing. The thing is, if we dole Jesse or Tifa here, we don't get the cloud, right? Because it's 2 or more avalanche. Okay?
Correct.
Right. And Barrett just came in.
Barrett does not have haste yet. Yeah, so there won't be any party attack triggers. Cloud gonna go ahead and just attack individually, try and apply some pressure. Yeah.
That's our last switch.
Okay, so we're going for a party attack anyways with Tifa and Terra. Again, just kind of like saying, hey, I need to start applying some pressure, need to push you to 7 before you start getting into this position where you get more Cat 4 characters out or more Cat 4 forwards, and I really can't answer it. Because he's already got Cloud on board, right? That's one of his main tools for answering that Cecil.
So Hooded Man here is Azul's best draw, I think, because that gives us our 4th Cat 4 forward, which lets us do AK, and we can untap twice.
Yep, I agree.
So we'll be able to kill Jesse plus Tifa. I think no matter what, you want to avoid killing Cloud because we don't want it to be played again.
Yeah, Cloud is one of Chris's answers to the Cecil at this point. Cecil, I think, is Cecil 7K?
Yes.
So he could answer it with the last Brynhilde, right? Because he's got the Terra on the board.
So what Azul just did here is he went into combat and then before combat he doled the Barret. So we're going for damage here. And this is kind of interesting, right? Like Azul has more damage taken right now. So he's basically saying he's willing to
he's content with racing.
Yeah, he's content with racing.
I wonder if he does have the Hooded Man and he knows his forwards are going to untap in the end step.
No, Theodore's attacks though.
No, but he has the Hooded Man in hand, so he could play the Hooded Man before end step.
Oh, he passed
it. Sorry, I was looking up Cecil. I wanted to look up I want to see the power on it. It is an 8K forward, so Terra Brynhilde's not to kill it.
This is really spooky. I don't really know what we can do here. What does Azul have in hand that he just passed, basically? We can technically dull a forward with our Cat 4 forwards, and then we can crack the ninja to activate characters, right? I think the ninja on the right is activate characters. What else? Win characters.
Yeah, I think it's similar to Oracle.
Activate all win characters.
Sorry, just looking up that card. I want to make sure we. Yeah, if you pay 2 win, put ninja into the break zone, activate all the win characters you control. So he would only get to reactivate the Theodore actually for Cat 4 characters.
Yeah, that doesn't do it. So do we have Diabolos in our deck or no?
Nope.
I don't think we have very much instant speed. We don't have any summons in this deck actually. I think we were looking at another deck when we were talking about Alexander. No, that was the Bart Spoko deck with Alexander, I think.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, because this deck doesn't run any.
I think we were just maybe leaning on that. Yeah, the Fina and Typhon.
This is looking pretty bad.
Yeah, I think Chris may have just turned that corner here, taking it a little slower, and
actually doling Theodore here gives him a wedge target. Now we don't have wedge on. Oh yeah, we do have wedge on that board.
Yeah, we do have a wedge, and the other thing is also using the Cat 4 forwards to dole. Oh, he's gonna go ahead and activate the Theodore to save it, so it's not dole, so it won't die to the wedge anymore.
Right. Is Gecko's cost 4 too though?
Yeah.
Is it any character? Sorry.
I'm just assuming that he's doing it in response to the wedge, right? Because he already formed the party attack, so wedge is declared his target, and he's gonna go ahead and activate in response.
Right. It appears that are they still playing? Who won? Did Oki win or lose?
It looks like he's gonna.
Oki's gonna.
Oh wow.
Oh, interesting.
So Oki is still in game 3, but he looks like he's kind of starting to pull ahead of the Bart Spoko player. So we'll keep everyone at home updated on what's going on in top 4. But while we watch Chris's and Azul's game play out.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy matchup. I think for either player, I think if you know what you're going into, and you mulligan a little differently, maybe, right? So going back to
Cloud.
Yeah, going back to the board here, you know, we're getting all the triggers. So unlike previously, right? Azul was able to dole down one of the avalanche operatives, so we couldn't get the party attack. Here we have so many more now out. As long as we get one party attack off, we'll get all of their triggers. So doling one doesn't have as large of an impact since Chris has really developed his board.
And that's why we lost the gecko there.
Yeah. Being pushed now to damage 6. I don't know if Azul has a damage 6 ability to really abuse. But
It doesn't look like it.
yeah, looking at his list, it doesn't seem like there's anything that's gonna, you know, help him out here. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, just he does, you know, Wind not having a sweep. I mean, he's not a Luso deck, so
Right.
you know, at this point in the game, it's gonna be a tough climb. So there's an edge. Assuming that's his last one. And the last Yugiri as well.
I feel like we just really missed our hooded mans this game. I think there were a couple turns where Azul could have turned the corner.
Yeah, like we said, there was a turn where he had the edge, or he had the Cecil, the Theodore, the hooded man, and the gecko. Or he had the gecko. If he played the hooded man, I think he would have been able to really turn the corner against Chris and apply a lot more pressure.
Yeah, it would have been AK on your turn once or twice, and then on their turn, Dole 2, probably.
Yep. And then just grind him out. So, all right. Looks like we've got our first result in for top 4. Matthew Okimoto is going to be headed on to the finals.
Are we going to have a 2-time ReRaise champion?
I don't know. We'll see what Chris or Azul has to say about that, right? Both are proving in this match, I think, to be pretty good players. So it's going to be a challenge for Oki.
Right.
We'll see. Avalanche Operatives is pretty scary against the Mono Win, right? That deck can blow up. So.
Do we think that ninjas are low enough to the floor that it can get past Mono Win? There is some backup disruption. Like we could kill Chocolat, which is like one of the key backups. We can kill Althea.
Yeah.
I think with these ninjas.
We also can kill all the big ones with Theodore.
It looks like we're tapping 4. We played Tsukinoa.
So I think we're going to start trying to abuse Cecil here.
Right. Which is still really sad that we don't have our hooded man. That's like a missing combo piece here. It's so sad.
Chris making sure he understands the Cecil.
I think Chris is going to be doing the thing. Oh, that's cute. That's pretty good. And then like next turn, just kill everything.
Yeah.
But
Well,
let's see.
Now he's going to untap for Theodore's effect. Yep.
This is combat. And because we don't have the last trigger, it's like, oh, we're going for damage here? Dang.
Azul is a much braver man than I.
Why is Cecil so good, dude? I think he has a Matsu. But at this point, most of Azul stuff are action abilities, not auto abilities. Oh.
So now they're going.
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry.
We were misinformed.
I'm sorry. My informant has corrected his previous statement. Matt was able to win game 2. They will be pushing to a game 3 now. I apologize to everyone at home. So Monowin pushing the Barco boats.
You'll get your actual info. You can't trust this.
We're getting a third informant. Tell us
Yeah.
what's going on now.
Yeah, we're verifying everything. We're pretty confident that they went to game 3 though.
So like, basically what happened was someone got their bought an $8 Twitter subscription, got the check mark.
Yeah.
And we got fed fake news.
Yeah, fake news.
All right, let's see what's going on here. I think what happened was a Kusith was, which was why Chris Neal was looking in his breaks.
That would make sense. Kusith or like Marlene, probably,
Yeah,
right?
Marlene. The one of Marlene.
When you're good, you're good.
True. Good players always have it. So
yeah, I mean, so
Chris Neal's just thinking about how to win here now.
yeah, I mean, he just gotta kind of has to push. Oh, Arciela is pretty good because now it means that Sure, go ahead and use your forwards to dole down my cat 4 guy, or use your cat 4 guys to dole down my dudes. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna attack individually.
And I think Azul has one last trick, which is to tap the ninja to activate something. Probably.
Yep. Activating all his win
Win
cards. Yeah.
It's his last trick. So I think Chris Neal should probably know this. But can he play around this in any way?
Yeah. I mean, he did read the card earlier. So, you know, now it's a matter of, hey, do you remember and can you play around it still?
And I think forcing trades for Chris Neal is just fine at this point, as long as Barrett stays alive, because you're drawing so many extra cards with all those avalanche swings.
Yeah, I mean, and like you're gonna have really beefy dudes because your Tifa is gonna be pumping all your 7Ks, making them 8Ks. Like you're just gonna be applying so much pressure. Azul's already sitting at 6 damage, right? So he's got to block everything that Chris throws his way.
Yeah, and I don't think we don't have 6 cat 4 forwards yet or characters, so
Correct.
everything is as written.
Yeah, I mean, and Azul would have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, I'm trying to figure out the math and how many cards he can actually dull to save himself here. I
So
don't
can
think it's
you-
enough.
Yeah, so he can use Edge and Cecil Dull and then activate all his win characters. I don't think that's like quite good enough.
I think he might be short on it, but I mean, we'll see. I'm sure Chris is going to do some of the math as well and see if we can actually get there.
Okay, attack. Plus 1k from Tifa. Oh, and we just took
Yeah.
it because we're dead.
I think Azul knows. He's like, all right, I'm going to save us some time here.
I mean, that's a common thing in like not necessarily only Final Fantasy, but other games as well. You know, save your brain energy, right?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to fight your way through an unwinnable position? You know,
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing is also, right, these matches, they're still timed.
right?
So Azul is looking at the sports data. If he does the math, he knows it better than maybe Chris does, and he goes, "Nah, if Chris just taxed correctly,
I'm dead.
I'm dead. Even if he taxed incorrectly, I'm probably still dead. Let me save an extra 10 minutes here and just go to the next game because those 10 minutes could become valuable because I now have to push to a game 3.
Right, and we know that there was a time a game that went to time in the last round.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's a fair concern, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think Azul picking up the cards there and saying, "Hey, let's do this again," is probably the correct move.
He could also have spent the couple of the last turns where he's probably looking doom, thinking about what he could do better, you know, to figure out how to adapt to this situation.
Yep. So Chris did play that game a little slower. I think the Brynhilders really worked out in his favor. If you are in Azul's shoes, what do you want to see differently here?
If I were Azul, there are a couple of things that I want my deck to do for me. One is I want to draw 4 win backups and Athena to prevent the 6 CP cloud value.
Very fair.
And I probably just want to see Cat 4. I want to get off this edge plan because I don't think it's quite good because Chris Neal has recognized that Brynhilder control is kind of just doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I want to see more of my Cat 4 characters and I want to try doing Theodore things.
Yeah, I think that was the thing, right? Like Azul seemed like he was on the edge of being able to crawl back into that game once he got Azul out, or once Azul got Cecil out. He started doing things that was really slowing Chris down. And I think if he can really start to abuse that better, I think he'll be in a better position. Now, this game already, he's at one more Cat 4 backup than last game. Last game, he had no Cat 4 backup. So having a Rosa out is going to make a big difference. I mean, if he's able to play a Sid, Paul, and Dina, that's going to make a big difference in this game. Things like that will change the way he plays, probably, right?
Yep. Here, Chris Neal just played a backup and the Cloud Pod in the same turn.
Yep. So the reason a Avalanche player will do this is because it's very easy for them once they play that Cloud Pod. If you pass back to the Avalanche player, he can break the cloud, put on a 3-drop Avalanche into play, and now only have to pay 1 CP for the next one. Afterwards, he can play his Barrett and give and both will have haste, so he can immediately start attacking and applying the pressure.
Also, dealing with this cloud is kind of clunky for win players.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best ways for Azul to deal with it is this, right?
Right.
The edge. So he's kind of forcing Chris, maybe even just forcing Azul down the same path as the previous game and saying, you did this last game. See how, try doing it again. I'm going to punish you.
Yeah. Now, does Edge get a counter for himself when he enters?
When Edge enters the field, I think it's when other ninjas, but I could be wrong.
Oh, okay. So
Just
we're playing Typhon. So Typhon's, it's more expensive than the Cloud, but because we're on 3 backups, Typhon is still a forward as well. So there's additional value, even though it's kind of expensive.
Yeah, other than Edge.
Okay. So even though we had Edge in hand, I don't think we had the CP to play Edge Ninja.
Yeah.
And there's a window where Brynhilder blows us out.
Yep.
So Typhon is just the safer play.
Yeah.
And I think it is a priority to get rid of Cloud Pod.
I agree, because I mean, it just makes it so Chris can't actually start doing the things that his deck wants to do. The sooner or the longer it takes for Chris to hit the go switch, the better, right?
Right.
So I think Chris is going to continue really just applying that pressure, grabbing the Cloud. So that means he's going to shuffle his deck. So he's not going to be drawing the Cloud Pod here. He could search it. Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Just grabbing it and playing it again, right? You can only type on it once at this point. He's not playing Althea.
Yep. Oh, there he is. Exactly
Yeah.
as you said.
I'm not
So
opposed to that.
Chris
Thanks,
Neal
Flip.
already showed us he has another 6 CP Cloud in his hand.
Mm,
So if this Cloud, now if this turn this Cloud lives, then trying to do the same thing, right?
yeah, if this Cloud lives, what he can actually do is he can crack it for. Oh,
Oh.
he's just going in.
So we're doing 10k. Do we have a bear to revive? Oh, we do have a bear.
Wow.
That's very good.
Maybe he just wanted to pull the trigger. Being that Azul's only on 3 backups means he can't be Fina. I mean, seeing it just hit damage, right? But maybe that's what he wanted to do. He says, hey, you can't kill me, or you can't stop my Cloud now. You might be able to after next turn. So now's the time. Let's go.
Right. So this is a tricky position for Azul to be in. We're not set up enough to cast Theodore to kill. Oh, and we're just passing.
Mm.
This is problematic. If we see a Jesse or if we see a Biggs, we're getting stonks. Well, our opponent's doing nothing.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Azul, maybe he's just passing because he's setting up for this turn where he can be a little bit more explosive. I think putting out individual forwards against this deck, it's not going to do him a whole lot of good, right? So he needs a little bit of that surprise factor.
I feel like what we really wanted was we wanted to draw a backup.
Yeah. I feel like what we really want right now is to see a hooded man flip over into damage.
Yeah.
And give me that free card back, please.
I'll take Yugiri as well. That's acceptable.
Yeah. Not quite it. Yeah. Cobb punching in. Barrett. So Azul already at 4 damage. There's that Yugiri. What do you think he grabbed here?
This is a tough spot to be in. I don't really know. I assume that whatever we get is potentially just CP.
Yeah, there's a good chance. Yeah. I mean, hey, is there what did our friend say? Any ninja gamers in the chat? You want to give us some advice?
So I think now this is not necessarily a problem with Azul's deck, but in this situation, it's a little bit troublesome. Is like a lot of his deck is very reactive if he's behind or if he's ahead, right? So we have Zidane, which can protect our board. We have Fina, which can protect us from wipes. But like if we draw them now when we're losing, they're not going to do anything for us.
Yeah.
We need to affect the board in some way. And it's going to be tough for ninjas to do this. Like they have to rely on Edge, right? Or Theodore.
Yeah. I mean, and it's pretty difficult. Like we said it, I think in the last game, is that he can get the Cat 4 forwards on board and he's just going to slow Chris down a little bit. But if Chris has access to all these other operatives already, it's like, sure, you're slowing him down a turn or two, but he's just going to keep throwing 1 or 2 on the board each turn. And eventually he's going to reach a point of critical mass. Right. You're not going to be able to stop him.
And it gets to the point where the problematic thing is like these cheap forwards, like 1 CP 7 gaze. It's not even the additional value because you're so far behind trying to deal with like Barrett and
And those 1 CP 7Ks become 8Ks, which trade with cards like Theodore,
Yeah.
and or they're bigger than cards like Hooded Man, right? Hooded Man, I think, being a 7K, Cecil being an 8K, trading with that. It's like it becomes rough. You kind of just start bleeding.
Right. So it looks like we're trying our best to fill the board with ninjas. We have 2 counters on edge. We have to shoot something here. I think we're gonna. So if we shoot something on this turn, Chris Neal can get back whatever dies.
Yeah.
Assuming Tifa's the thing dying because it's 5K.
Yep.
But if Tifa is the one that's killed, I'll just get picked back up. Same with Jesse. If we choose Jesse, we probably want to choose Barrett, but we need another ninja.
Well, I don't think you can. I mean, Edge can't kill the Barrett, right?
It's 3K per counter, right?
Yeah, but Barrett has the built-in protection against that.
I think it's 9K as one instance.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
I thought it was separate instances. Okay.
Okay, so
That's
we're
actually-
snorting. Okay,
Well, this
so-
is pretty good because it's gonna remove operators from the bin. Chris only has so many cards. Chris can only do
Well-
this once per turn, so he's gonna hit something, right?
Well, I mean, this is the power, right? Because we're just like, okay, we're gonna get Tifa back. Tifa gets Cloud back. Oh, okay. Edge is 1K at a 3K at a time. Okay, so Edge gets around Barrett gets around Edge.
Yeah.
Not my mistake.
Yeah, I think the way that Azul would have to answer the Barrett is gonna be like a Theodore or the fire one that we saw earlier, Gecko.
Get-go, yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Like-
guess the cute thing here is Typhon's a free block. You block, bounce it to your hand.
True.
Don't know if that's you don't have to save us.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing is that if he draws another Typhon, Snort is pretty decent moving it forward, but it's just at the point where Azul is kind of hemorrhaging, right? Like,
Yeah.
and at some point Chris is gonna go for the fatal blow.
And Chris Neal is like, his hand has so many like good cards. He pitched a Barrett to get back to Tifa last turn. He just pitched a Cloud to play this other Tifa. His hand is like all gas. It's like, oh, if you kill one of these, I'm just gonna replay it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, probably gonna get another Cloud here. This is a Cloud for CP. Jesse will get us another Cloud.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
Yes, and it's like that's one of the tough things, right? Because now it's like you can't justifiably kill that 60B Cloud, but if you don't, you're running out of damage. Like that guy's gonna be turning sideways every turn for 9K because of Tifa.
and if I am a Chris Neal here, I just go for one at a time.
Yeah.
Because Tifa, the additional 1K, I mean, you're gonna find okay trading with the Typhon.
Yeah.
You still have 5 attackers.
Like I said, one of the few
Attackers.
ways to kill that Typhon is through combat, right?
Yeah.
They have to let that damage resolve. So,
Okay. This is our worst for it.
so I think he takes this damage to Cecil. Probably don't want to, or he doesn't have one, so that would have been a fine draw. Barrett 10K, probably gonna take that one, go to 6.
I think we're doomed here. We have 2 blockers, 3 attackers though.
Yeah. Wedge. I mean, chump block, Jesse, chump block,
Trading.
and Tifa.
You win.
Call it a day.
Congrats to Chris Neal.
Chris Neal going on to the finals. And,
Alright, is this confirmed?
confirmed? All right.
Okay, we can
so-
confirm.
We've got confirmation that Matthew Okimoto was able to take down Bart's Boko. So in the finals, it'll be Matthew Okimoto playing Mono Wind against Chris Neal playing Avalanche. This is a difficult matchup for Mono Wind. Now,
Something we've been testing at the Airbnb recently, actually.
yeah, Chris Neal, I had him play the night before, like I think 6 games at least of Mono Wind into Avalanche. So I was playing Mono Wind, and by the end of it, Chris goes, "Well, I have to kill you before I turn 3. Otherwise, I might just be dead." And let's see. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to, I think, here. We saw Matt be able to pilot his way out of the Bart's Boko, I guess.
That's
Matchup, right?
That's probably the most impressive thing that I know Oki's 7-0, he's going to finals, but that's
Mhm.
the most impressive win I think in my eyes
Yeah.
that he's done.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a solid one. most players, Alex said it as soon as he sat down. He's like, "It's gonna be a swift one, boys. Like
Yeah.
it's tough. I don't know what I'm."
When the
yeah.
former world champ says it's hard, you know it's hard.
Yep. Yeah. But America's sweetheart said no, not today. USA. But anyways, he's gonna go on. It sounds like against Chris Neal. I'm assuming we're gonna give the players a quick break here, and then we'll see. So,
Oki is dabbing his way out the door.
yeah.
Like very excited after winning that match.
So, yeah, congrats to both players making it all the way to finals. I'm looking forward. This is going to be a juicy last one for the day.
Two great players. I think two former Worlds players as well.
Yeah, both have represented Worlds. I think both have been to Worlds twice, also, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So, I mean,
Some of the best this region has to offer.
yeah, absolutely. Chris probably is one of the best aggro players out there. I mean, a lot of times we joke. Chris says all the time, he's like, I gotta play an aggro deck because I have to take time to think. And aggro decks, it was pretty funny actually. At locals, we were talking to Chris, and one of the things he started doing in certain matchups is he would literally just throw 6 CP Cloud on the board with no Barret and just call haste.
Yeah.
Knowing that if he chooses an operative from the bin, he could end up getting Mist Dragon or something like that. So he would just throw a 6 CP Cloud on the board, call haste, and say, "Suck it, it's going in." So Chris, obviously, he knows how to play around what your opponent's doing really well. I think this is going to be a very interesting battle.
Right. I think
Allow.
I think if Oki wants to win, right, he wants to play Fina, cancel Cloud. He wants to storm off turn 3, probably turn 4 at the latest.
Yep. Yeah, it was interesting. I think when we were playtesting the matchup, Typhon, as good as we thought Typhon was going to be in the matchup, and it still is a very good card. It's like, we said Typhon or bust, but I think one of the games where we played the Typhon against the Avalanche player, it just wasn't enough. They were still able to continue to apply pressure and really close out the game. I think you need a little bit more than just that.
Luso or bust.
Yeah, it's Luso or bust. I think it's really what it comes down to. Not only a Luso or bust, I think it's like Luso plus Lulu, because you need to be able to shrink that Barret too. It's like you need some stuff to really align up well in order to actually push out some of that aggression from Chris and the Avalanche deck.
Yeah, I think if the games go past like turn 6, turn 7, mono win is probably favored.
Yeah.
Yeah. Avalanche is obviously explosive.
So I think, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, is Avalanche able to do Avalanche things, or will, mono win do mono win things, right? But I think while the players take a quick break, we're going to kind of join them. I know I could use some water.
Yep.
We'll be back in a couple minutes. See you guys shortly.
See ya.